To sew a pin tuck, set your machine as for rolled or narrow hemming. Stitch along the fold of the fabric, keeping the fold in line with the chaining finger. Be careful not to cut the folded edge. Sew as many rows of pin tucking as you require, using the width of the presser foot as a guide. Ribbing is used for cuffs and bands on leisure and sportswear. For most garments, ribbing should be cut 1/3 smaller than the garment it's being attached to. Seam the ribbing ends together. Divide the ribbing into quarters and pin it to the garment. Because you'll be sewing in a circular manner, cut a small square of material from the seam allowance at the starting point. Place the cut up against the blade and sew around the seam, gently stretching the ribbing at the same time. Be sure to remove the pins before they reach the knife blades. To achieve a mock cuff or band, fold your hem up and back, with the fold and raw edge even. Your hem should be approximately 6 centimeters or 2½ inches. Place your fabric under the presser foot and sew, cutting off the fold. When finished, open out and press. You now have a quick and easy cuff or band. Lace is easily sewn onto lingerie and all types of ladies' wear, giving that very professional finish. To sew on lace, cut the lace to the same length as the fabric. Set the stitch length dial to 3. Now place the lace and fabric with right sides together under the presser foot and sew, trimming away the raw edges. Press the seam allowance towards the garment to give a perfect finish. Automatic gathering on fine lightweight fabrics is simple on your 634D serger. Set the differential feed dial between 2 and 2.25 depending on the fabric and the amount of gathering required. Place your fabric under the presser foot and sew, trimming off the excess. If more gathers are required, increase the needle tensions. Your mylock can also be used as a 2 or 3 thread serger. To sew a wide 3-thread stitch, loosen the lower screw and remove the right-hand needle and thread. To sew a standard 3-thread stitch, loosen the upper screw and remove the left-hand needle and thread. For 2-thread serging, you must attach the spreader. To do this, put the tip of the spreader into the rear of the hole on the upper looper. Slide the spreader down into the holder. For regular 2-thread serging, use only the left-hand needle and the lower looper thread. The lower looper pre-tension slider must be set at standard. The changeable thread guide must be set in the lower position at 2. To remove the spreader, pull the tab on the holder towards you lightly. Then push the bottom of the spreader up and pull it out. A plain overlock can be used to decorate your garment or finish your craftwork attractively. Use the standard or wide 3-thread stitch. Overlock the edge of the fabric using various decorative threads. Flatlock seams are used as a decorative finish on leisure and sportswear. Set your machine as for 2-thread serging by removing the right-hand needle and attaching the spreader. The lower looper pre-tension slider must be set at standard, and the changeable thread guide must be set in the lower position at 2. Now set your left needle tension at 0, lower looper tension at 3, and stitch length at 3. These tension settings may vary according to the type of fabric and thread used. Place the two pieces of fabric wrong sides together under the presser foot. Sew along, trimming off the seam allowance. When completed, gently pull the two pieces of fabric until the seam lies flat. When sewing a flat lock seam, a more attractive finish is achieved by threading the lower looper with a heavier or decorative thread. By flat locking pieces of fabric together at random, you can construct your own fabric design. To join squares or rectangles, flat lock all your seams in one direction. Cut the thread chains and complete the patchwork by flat locking the remaining rows in the opposite direction. If you want to sew a decorative ladder stitch, set your machine as for two-thread flat lock. Fold your fabric with the right sides together and using a decorative thread in the needle and standard overlocking thread in the loopers, place your fabric under the presser foot. Use the right hand needle line on the presser foot as a guide. Sew along, being careful not to cut the folded edge. When completed, gently pull the fabric open until it lies flat and press. Now using a bodkin and a narrow ribbon, weave the ribbon through alternate stitches. For a checkered effect, use narrower ribbon in contrasting colours. To attach the cloth guide, open the side cover and loosen the set screw. Slide the attaching plate onto the set screw from right to left as far as possible and tighten the set screw. Loosen the adjusting screw and position the cloth guide on the front surface of the needle plate. Tighten the adjusting screw and close the side cover. Loosen the screw on the slider and adjust the cloth guide position to suit your needs. The cloth guide will enable you to maintain a constant seam width. It is also a very useful guide when flat locking on the fold and when doing pin tucking. Open the side cover and, taking the gathering attachment, rotate the arm towards you. Loosen the set screw and slide the gathering attachment onto the machine from right to left. Tighten the screw. Turn the balance wheel towards you until the needles are at their high point and the feed dog is fully raised. Loosen the thumb screw and raise the arm until you can rotate it onto the needle plate. Set the bottom of the arm to the height of the raised feed dog. Tighten the thumb screw and close the side cover. Set the thread tensions for normal serging and the differential feed dial to 1. Place two pieces of fabric, right sides together, underneath the arm of the attachment and sew slowly for 2 or 3 stitches. Stop and move the arm towards you. Turn the balance wheel until the needle pierces the fabric, then raise the presser foot. Set the differential feed dial to between 1.5 and 2.25. Insert the arm between the two pieces of fabric. Lower the presser foot and continue sewing. The bottom fabric will be gathered and attached to the top fabric, which remains flat. Remove the presser foot and attach the piping foot. Set the machine for standard 4-thread serging or 3-thread serging using only the left needle. Lay the piping cord onto the wrong side of your bias strip and fold over. Lift the presser foot lever and raise the needles to their high point. Place the piping strip to the edge of the fabric, right side uppermost. Slide the cord under the foot until the fabric touches the upper knife. Lower the presser foot, making sure that the piping cord sits under the groove on the left-hand side of the piping foot. Now you can sew, guiding the cord underneath the groove. This can also be used when inserting the piping between two layers of fabric, right sides together. To use the elastic gathering attachment, open the side cover. Loosen the set screw and slide the attaching plate onto the screw. Push the snap to the left and raise the holding plate. This enables you to match the line on the supporting plate to the right-hand line on the needle plate. Tighten the set screw and close the side cover. Place your elastic under the holding plate, matching the right-hand edge with the line on the supporting plate. Pull about 5 centimeters or 2 inches of elastic under the presser foot. Lower the holding plate and secure the end with the snap. Move the slide plate across, up to the left-hand edge of the elastic. Turning the thumb screw clockwise will increase the amount of gather produced. Turning counterclockwise will reduce the amount of gather. Set the thread tensions for standard 4-thread serging and set the stitch length dial between 4 and 5. Place the fabric underneath the elastic and the foot and sew. Secure the tape reel on the rear faceplate. Insert your tape into the slot on the left-hand side of the tape holder from the inside outwards. Holding onto the end of the tape, turn the handle and wind the tape onto the taping reel. Remove the presser foot and attach the taping foot, leaving it in its raised position. Insert the tape into the guiding hole on the reel arm. Then insert it into the groove on the taping foot, pulling the tape to the back under the foot. Set your machine for standard 4-thread serging and place your fabric under the foot. Remove any slack in the tape by turning the handle of the taping reel gently away from you. Start to sew slowly. This is useful for taping shoulder seams in knitted fabrics to prevent stretching. Cording foot A is extremely useful when inserting nylon fishing line for bridal and evening wear. Set the machine as for rolled hem sewing and use woolly nylon thread in the upper looper. Set the stitch length at R and the differential feed at 0.5. Insert fishing line into the guide on the cording foot. Then attach the foot to the machine, pulling a length of line behind the foot. The fishing line used should be of approximately 20 pounds or 9 kilograms breaking strain. Place the fabric or tulle under the foot and sew. The fishing line will automatically feed into the rolled hem as you stitch. When you come to the end of the fabric, leave a long length of fishing line attached. You can now stretch your fabric, taking in more line and giving you a greater lettuce leaf edge. When using cording foot B, a padded rolled hem can be achieved, which looks great on table linens. Remove the presser foot and attach the cording foot. Set the chaining finger to R as for rolled hemming. Set the lower knife to its furthest right position by turning the cutting width regulator dial clockwise. Remove the right-hand needle. And set the tensions as for rolled hem. These may need to be adjusted depending on the fabric and thread being used. Set the stitch length dial at R.